And we are back for another House of the Dragon review, this time for episode 5. And before you ask, yes, that is my cat Lavender in the thumbnail. She is my baby squirrel, and I love her very much. Honestly, I'm such a cat dad, I'm tempted to give this episode a 10 out of 10 for all the cutie patooties in it, but I do need to be as fair as possible in my review, so don't worry, it won't affect my final score. But for the most part, this was a good setup episode, and it was a better episode 4 than episode 4 was. And I gave a lot of characters I found lacking in season 2 a much needed adjustment. But before we unpack all that, please be sure to give the video a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, you know the drill. Let's get into it. So, first and foremost, did I like the episode? Yes, I did. I think it did a better job of being episode 4 than episode 4 did, and that was to light this fuse for the next one to blow. Episode 5 had to put our characters into place where they needed to be, and it does that very well with Criston Cole doing his guerrilla warfare, Ormund fighting a very methodical battle, Rhenyra slowly losing herself and making bad decisions, and Alicent playing the game the best she can to survive. My one complaint would be that this should have been episode 4 instead of the episode 4 that we got, because this episode is technically episode 3 of season 3, but because they spent the first 2 finishing up season 2, it really doesn't feel like we have enough time to do the remaining big moments from the Fire and Blood, Dance of Dragons, Civil War, but based off the episode 6 preview, it also doesn't seem like we're even getting to First Tumbleton battle, so unless they plan on doing a 10-episode season 4, I don't see how they could possibly wrap this up without skipping or combining a few things, but I am getting ahead of myself. Like I said in the opening, this episode made me enjoy a lot of characters that I didn't in season 2, specifically Criston Cole. I hate the time-wasting bullshit they gave him for the first few episodes. This guerrilla warfare stuff he's doing should have been something he had been doing all season long, but it only took until a little more than halfway through the season to see it through. According to Oscar Tully and the Winter Wolves, they've been doing this tactic for quite some time, but like with many of the issues in this season, time is what the show doesn't have. So it spends what little it does have on bullshit scenes instead of showing us all this cool stuff. We also find out that Criston Cole has always known this was never going to have a happy ending for him, much to Gwain's horror. They literally do this meme, which was hilarious, but I loved his speech about being used by both sides and where he sees his place in that and about their righteous crusade. I loved it. It's just a shame that it took this long to get here. He barely feels like a character anymore and just a cameo part that got a cool monologue like Saw Guerrilla in that one episode of Andor.
You're not with Luther in your ear. You're right here and you're ready to fight.
And then we have Alicent and Alys Rivers, both characters I found kind of boring in season 2, come back this season with some interesting shit. Alicent out here playing the game, trying to save Helaena and trying to survive, and Alys being manipulative and witchy was kind of cool. However, there is no way she's not covered in batshit with that whole maneuver in the beginning of the episode. There were these 2 scientists a few years ago who were exploring a cave, and when a bunch of bats flew out, they defecated all over these guys as they left the cave, and the 2 men died over a short period of time from some serious illnesses I don't even think they were able to identify. If she doesn't have super COVID at this point, I'd call bullshit. And then of course we have Daemon and the gold cloak stuff. Again, last season he was just a victim of Alys's drug dealing and pretty much relegated to doing almost nothing. This season he's become one of my favorites to follow. Brother's on a mission to keep everything together, and you know things are fucked when Daemon Targaryen, the rogue prince of all people, is the one guy making sense in all this. That's concerning. But for the most part, I found myself not checking the clock to see when this was going to be over. I found the episode to be pretty good in terms of setup and tension. Rhenyra making all these dumb moves and isolating everyone while the city deals with those Sons of the Harpy style attacks. Ormund out here using history to try and win this war against her. He's truly a 5-star man. But yeah, I quite enjoyed the episode. The whole thing had a bunch of speeches left and right, and I was never bored. I'd go as far as to say it's an 8 out of 10 for me. The setup to Criston Cole's suicidal crusade was great. I just wish it was done several episodes ago and we got to see a good chunk of it then. Rhenyra slowly digging everyone's grave by focusing on the wrong things. Daemon trying to keep it all together. Ormund being strategic, and Alicent and Alys playing their own game. I felt as if every character had their part to play and they did so pretty well. As far as setup episodes go, this is one of the best they've done to light the fuse for next week. But of course, this isn't just a review, it's a conversation, and as such, I want to know what you guys thought of the episode. But before we begin, I feel like I should clear something up here because I see comments like this every now and then that I should probably address because I've been fairly vocal about my access to the screeners on social media, and to this person here, I'll tell you the same thing I told the guy who interviewed me for IGN. I do get screeners, but not from HBO. I understand that some creators do cook their reviews so they can continue to get access, but I've been doing this for a very long time now, and I know how to make friends in a few places who look out for me, and that includes sending a few things my way. So yes, I do get them, but HBO does not provide them. In fact, the only thing HBO has provided for me is an ample source of anxiety when they claim all of my videos covering the show. As you can see, we have not really made money from any of our own stuff relating to House of the Dragon Season 3. So if you think HBO has shown us any grace this season, they've actually only shown us the finger. But speaking of screeners, over in my Discord community, somebody 2344 says, it was still a good episode, but people on Twitter who had gotten screeners made it seem like it would be a bigger episode for the Aegon and Criston storylines. Not much changed in Aegon's story, I agree, besides Tylan showing up, and thought the last 2 Criston scenes were good, the rest were redundant. And there was the usual small annoyances like Larys speaking out loud about Aegon being king, sure, or Helaena finding Maegor's tunnels pretty easily. I see what you're saying, and I can't speak to anybody getting screeners. I don't really follow many creators who do this content other than Preston and maybe one other person, so I can see what you're saying about being hyped up and let down. But in regards to Aegon, I agree with you on that. But with Cole, I'm just happy he's finally doing something, and we're seeing the war play out in a different way. I just wish it was something that they were... I wish it was something they were doing several episodes ago to really hone in how much of a nuisance they are to the Rivermen forces. As for Helaena finding the tunnels, yeah, Preston was crashing out about this to me on a private call, how Rhenyra would be so stupid to put them in a room in which they could have access to that, especially when she used those secret tunnel passages in Season 1, Episode 4. Maybe there are multiple secret passages and she wasn't aware of that one specifically. I think the biggest bullshit of the episode is how Daemon hasn't once thought to have a conversation with Helaena, since he saw her in that vision he was given at the end of last season, but maybe the writers kind of forgot about that. Also on Discord, God King Race says, no Ulf scenes, 0 out of 10. You know, it's crazy to me how important the Dragonseeds become later on and how little screen time they're given, or anything to do, for that matter. With so few episodes left, Hugh and Ulf aren't even that interesting, and yet they're so important to the war that the writers just don't know what to do with them. Other than that one guy is a drunk and the other guy just really loves his family, and that's pretty much it. We don't even see them interacting with their dragons at all, no training montages, no bonding scenes, no major moments, they're just there. We'll see how that works out. Dax says, good episode, although whichever rat is sneaking in those sexual assault scenes needs to be looked into. You know, one thing that has surprised me is the amount of people who complain about these types of scenes, and don't get me wrong, I agree with you, for reasons I won't get into. Those types of moments often make me a little uncomfortable as well. But I don't really remember people complaining this much about them back during the original Game of Thrones when that was airing. And I have noticed the fandom raising their complaints about this quite a bit lately. And maybe I shouldn't use the word complain here. More like speak out about it. But yeah, there seems to be quite a bit of them. And I get Westeros is a dangerous place for women, but fuck, it seems dialed up a bit this season. I agree with you. Lisa here says, I overhyped the amount of cats in the episode. I'm sorry, Lisa, but there is no such thing as overhyping those little murder muffins. I think even one cat is enough to hype it up. And finally, on Twitter, Kaiser says, I'm loving Alicent. I'm loving Aegon's storyline. I think Rhenyra is far superior in the show than in the book. Daemon is a little more tame than I expected, but it's great. The only issue is we're in the midst of a massive war and we haven't gotten a ton of battles, and that's the only flaw. Again, the fact that they waste even one scene this season when they have, technically, only 6 episodes is crazy to me. I can still argue that not only should episodes 1 and 2 have been combined, but probably 4 and 5 should have been combined as well, trimming the fat out of some of the scenes in order for them to keep giving us the necessary moments to fully adapt the dance. Give us these beefy episodes to start the season and focus on adapting the other battles as well. Like, I don't know if this is an issue with the writing team or maybe HBO is not giving them enough cash, but this is, as of now, their flagship series. I get these things are expensive, but they don't really have anything else that's getting me to subscribe to their service. For anything Ice and Fire related, they should either go all out or just give it to Apple. Because so far, Apple has not disappointed me when it comes to those big spectacle shows. I'm looking at you, Foundation. You're awesome. No notes. But guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please be sure to give us a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out a lot. And if you'd like to support the channel, then consider doing so on Patreon or YouTube membership. It's only a little over $1 a month, and you'd have access to some exclusive content on the side. Links below in the description. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Have a good one.